My name is Alex Pennington, and we are the Aspiring Writers United. Today, we're talking about saving cats. More specifically, how this particular cat gives us an amazing outline for setting up your story. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there are few things more difficult in writing than starting your story. It's personally my thorn in the side. It's what I've struggled with the most writing. If you want a decent ending, I can give you a great cliffhanger. If you want that midpoint turn, I'm pretty good at that. But starting your story is difficult, and it's where most writers fall flat. Because if you can't hook your reader, they are never going to get to page 200 where you have the amazing plot twist. Save the Cat, which is a book, and there's a couple of books, one specifically for writing novels, but I really like the original personally, that outlines the entire structure of a story. And it does this for different genres as well. The outlining process we see for the beginning of a story involves a couple of things. The first is the setup. The second is the theme stated. And the third, most critical, is the catalyst. If you read YA like myself, the catalyst usually happens around chapter 4 or around page 30. If you draw it out too long, you're going to lose the audience. But you might be asking, what is a catalyst? We're going to get to that in a moment. The first thing you need to realize is that the purpose of the setup is to show the reader your character's normal life. It's not to blow them away with extraordinary things. It's to just show them, hey, this is their average life. This is what Monday through Friday looks for them. Because if you don't know their normal life, you can't throw them into something extraordinary. The hero's journey is all about change. It's how you go from point A to point B. But the reader needs to be able to see point A. You know, if you don't know about Batman's childhood, of him losing his parents, of him just being a normal guy, it's not that extraordinary for him to become Batman. It's about, again, point A to point B. But doing so is difficult because, again, you only really have 30 pages. And in this 30 pages, you need to give us world building. You need to give us their daily routine. And hopefully, you will introduce all the important characters within the first chapter. Maybe 2 chapters, depending. And what this depends on really is actually what I recommend you doing. And that is giving a prologue. Now, I'm going to put a caveat to this. Because what I'm not telling you to do is to info dump. Do not give us a prologue of you just spewing out legends and interesting things and, just random facts. A lot of authors do this in fantasy. I'm looking at you, Robert Jordan. If you read some of these prologues, it's like an instruction manual and you're bored already. What I recommend personally, what I love seeing, is some kind of setup for the villain. Give us a taste of what's to come. It's, again, a hook. Why should the reader stick around? Because this really bad person is going to be a big threat to the main character. It's like saying, okay, this is the big threat, and then in the next chapter, character normal life. What you're saying in the reader's mind is, hey, this big threat you saw in the prologue is going to destroy this main character's normal life. That's going to be the catalyst. But you can only get there if you show the normal life. But so the catalyst, what is that? That is the event which changes the character's life. To think of some really great catalysts off the top of my head, it would be in Harry Potter when Hagrid shows up and to tell Harry, you're a wizard. That's a catalyst. I read Shadow and Bone. I love that trilogy. It's when Alina discovers she has light powers, or however they said it in the book. It's the moment which your character really shines. It's when they go, my life is never going to be the same again. And so then what you're doing is you have the reader thinking to themselves, wow, this catalyst, this new ability is going to go into effect against the villain. We are going to have a conflict here. And that's what really piques the reader's interest. But again, you can't have that happening if they don't know their daily life. There's always a catalyst of some sort. And it's usually, and this is something I recommend, usually linked to powers awakening. Some kind of ability. It doesn't have to be, that's only for fantasy. Or if you're writing a mystery novel, some horrible thing happens to the main character that motivates them into the story. It's all about having a driving force that pushes the character into the action. It's like the gunpowder going off and making the bullet come out of the barrel. If I had to give you an example, that's probably a bad one, but it's what pushes the story forward. It's why the story is happening. I mean, Harry Potter would not be that interesting if he never found out he was a wizard. Yeah, that'd be pretty weird, and he'd probably have some rough years because he's developing powers and he's very confused. But it's when Hagrid shows up and says, "You are a wizard. You need to come with me." That's when the story truly begins. I highly recommend you having a prologue. Show us the villain. Show us something coming down the line. I'm personally a fan of Dan Brown. I love his books. They are great thrillers, and this is actually something almost every thriller does. The first chapter, somebody gets killed, usually related to the villain. That's just how they work. It instantly hooks you. You even see this a lot in movies. After that, have your main character have their normal life. It doesn't have to be super entertaining. And here's a bonus tip for you. Introduce character flaws. If there is a flaw in their character, highlight it. Show it. One of my favorite examples actually from Save the Cat is there's some book they discuss about a lady who is a shopaholic. And she just racks up all this credit card debt. And you just see her shopping around. And you're like, oh my gosh, how can this person be doing this? Huge character flaw. It's her normal life. And already you are invested as a reader. It's genius. And that book, as I can't remember the title, but I am sure it sold millions of copies. And so again, have a great prologue. Show us their normal life. State the theme. What is your theme? I know that sounds corny, and when you were in school, you probably hated it when your English teacher would make you discuss the theme of the book. But it's important. And every good story has a theme. And the theme needs to be literally said by somebody within the first couple of pages. Just state the theme. Because as a reader, whenever you hear that and you finish the movie or the book, it makes you go, oh my gosh, this writer was a genius. They've woven this wonderful story about this complex theme, and you're going to impress your readers. And finally, give us a catalyst. Give us some event, usually negative, that propels the character forward. They awaken a power. Something horrible happens. For some reason, they are forced on this quest. Thank you all for listening, and I'm curious, how do you go about these steps? Do you like the Save the Cat books? I personally love them. And I didn't know a lot of this stuff whenever I first started writing, and it just opened my mind. I highly recommend it to anyone who is on their writing journey. Please, don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment your thoughts and tips on how you set up your stories. Thank you.